See my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Facility
Yes,
project management. That's what we'll be taking today. Normally, I'll just start by the simple discussion from what is a project? What is a project? A project is defined as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or service or a result. A project is any temporary endeavor that you undertake that creates unique products, unique service, unique results, whatever it is. It could be a physical product, it could be a service that is being rendered, or it could even be a particular set of results that is supposed to be submitted, maybe data, but it must always be unique and is normally temporary. A project is temporary in that it has a defined beginning and ending. So, therefore, it has defined scope and resources. A project is said to be temporary because it must have a beginning and an end. Any project must have beginning and end. No project runs in an infinity or never-ending circle. Anything that has a redoing circle is what we call operations, not project. A project must always have beginning and ending. Must always have a beginning and end so that you can relate with that. Also, a project is unique in that it is not a routine operation, like I mentioned earlier, but a specific set of operations designed to accomplish a singular goal. So, a project team often includes people who do not usually or necessarily have to be together. Sometimes they may be from different organizations or even across multiple geopolitical surfaces or geographies, where you can run a project in Nigeria, and all the project team may be cut across several countries of the world. I remember running so many projects like that for some multinationals where we had to do some renovations. When we were doing the project, we had teams from the UK that was on the team, and we never saw them physically on ground, but we only saw them in our meetings, in our tele meetings that we had. They were doing their own part of the job there, especially the IT part. When it was time for them to integrate the IT into the renovation works that we did, they were working remotely and they were able to get across to the servers here in Nigeria from there in the UK. It's it's always important to know that a project is not just restricted to the people you can see. You can run multiple projects, even with people you cannot see, but you must always communicate with them. A project, this chart just gives us a rundown of what a project is. A project is temporal. It's very important that you understand that a project is temporal. A project is unique. No two projects are the same. No two projects are the same. No matter how similar that they are, there must be some kind of differences that is attached to the project. No two projects are the same. And then a project has a start and also has an end time. A project, you must always have scope, which cumulates into the work itself and the quality delivered. The project must always have stakeholders. A project must also have resources, which is people or material resources, and must always have a budget attached to it. Must always have a budget attached to it. Project management in itself is managing resources or putting resources together to achieve a unique result, to achieve a unique goal. the act of managing the resources, the act of bringing the resources together in a timely manner to achieve a particular goal or result as project management. And project management process falls under 5 broad groups. We have the initiating, we have the planning, we have the executing, we have the monitoring and control, and we have the close. This is what we call the project life cycle. The project life cycle. Project initiating is that point where the go or no go is taken for a project. Let's assume that, okay, I normally will use this kind of example. Let's assume that when you were in the university, those days you were in your lecture room and you were just thinking and you were hungry. And you just start thinking about, oh, what will I eat? For young men like us, when we're in the university, we love to eat beans a lot. So when you're in class and the lecturer is teaching and the hunger pack starts and you begin to reason, while the lecturer is in class, your mind has traveled. It has traveled wide and far to look for how to solve your hunger problem. Most of the times, at that point in time where you agree that you are hungry, you have just identified a problem. And what is the solution? You now begin to think, one, should I go to the butchery to go and take snack? Or do you want to go into a restaurant or the cafeteria to go and eat? Or for those of you that probably had foodstuffs and could cook, will you want to go to the room and probably cook whatever you want to cook, whether you're cooking beans or you're cooking rice or whatever you want to cook at that point in time? Immediately you take a decision on what to do to solve that hunger problem. If you have said, oh, I mean, all these things, I think I want to cook beans. Immediately you take that decision and arrive to that decision that you are cooking beans. You have just solved the problem for project initiation. That is when you have come together, you have looked at the problem, you have realized that you have to do something about that problem, and you have definitely gotten a way of solving that problem. Immediately you do that, you have started the process of what we call the project initiation stage. Then the next stage in project life cycle is planning process. Planning process has to do with putting together the tools, the resources, and everything, the skill set that is required to achieve that your result. To achieve that your result. It's very important to know that for any project to succeed, the planning stage must be thorough. You must spend a lot of time under the planning stage for you to be able to succeed in a project. If you do not spend time on the planning stage, the planning stage has a lot of things embedded into it. It has scope of works. It has project budgeting. You have monitoring in there. Sorry, you have budgeting. You have everything in there to ensure that you are able to know exactly what to do during the project. Even you need to also understand under project planning, you need to also do what we call risk assessment. Risk assessment is very important to know. We'll see that as we go along in the course. Planning projects. First of all, you need to identify stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders in the project? But before we do that, for any project, for you to be able to arrive at what exactly you need to do, you need to understand the why. Why are you doing this project? Why? Or rather, even if you start, why do you want to do this project? And where do you want to execute the project? Where? When are you going to start? Or when are you going to do the project? How are you going to achieve the result? What are the things you need to be able to achieve that project? And at the end of the day, you must answer the question of who is that project for? Who is going to receive the project? Who is the one going to receive the project deliverables? It is very important to answer these these 6 questions of why, where, when, how, what, and who for the project. You need to answer that question. Now, identify project stakeholders. Number one project stakeholders that we normally look at is the project sponsor, the sponsor of the project. The sponsor of the project may not necessarily be be the receiver of the project. You may just be one big man that just decided, oh man, I want to do this thing for the employee. You want to be the new head office. The MD just agree to it and signs the document, and that's it. He is not involved in the day-to-day running of ensuring that it is done. The only time you now see him is when you are commissioning the project. At that point, that's the project sponsor. Now you have the receiver of the project deliverables. The receiver of the project deliverables. The receiver of the project deliverable is the person that you hand over the project to after you have finished the project. Imagine you got commissioned to produce 200 packs of 200 packs of bottled water, and the person has said, "Oh, I did 200 packs of bottled water. Can you please arrange it for me?" And you decide to go around and get that project done. Immediately you conclude that project, you hand over to the person that is receiving it, has given you the job, and you hand over the packs of water to the person. The person necessarily may not be the one to drink the water. The person is just receiving the project deliverable. The next set of stakeholders are the users of the project outcome itself, the users of the deliverable, the users of the project outcome. By the time you are finished producing the water, who drinks the water? That person that is the final person that consumes that product is also part of the project stakeholders. That person is called the user of the project outcome. Then you also have the project manager and the team, the project manager and the team. A team comprises of a barrage of people, the project consultants, the workers that will be working on the project, the trainers, the suppliers, and so forth, and so back. So it is very important for us to know that the project manager and his team they're very, very important, and they normally are part of the project stakeholders. Establish project goals and deliverables. It is very important to always establish the project goals and the deliverables. What are you expected to do? Also, schedule tasks. Tasks is very important for you to schedule the tasks in a project so that you know exactly what you are doing and how you are to achieve the project tasks. The project manager. Now, at this juncture, I will say that I'll just spend a lot of time on the project management, and then the facility project manager is just about the same thing that a project manager does, so that by the time we get to that point, I won't need to repeat myself over and over again, but it's just almost the same. Just the differences is what I will look at and attend to at that point in time. The project manager. The project manager is it needs to has the following responsibilities when managing a project. One, the project manager needs to define clear and attainable project objectives. It is very important that the project manager define clear and attainable project objectives. They are very important to be able to do that. The project manager should also define project by reducing it to a set of manageable tasks. The project manager communicates of the project objectives to the stakeholders. Communicates objectives to the project stakeholders. It's very important that the project manager communicate. One of the serious things that the project manager does is he communicates, and he communicates again. The project manager must be able to procure tools and materials required for the project, must be able to procure tools and materials that are required for the project. The project manager must be able to manage the project constraint. There are things that are normally will restrict or hold the project back. Inform stakeholders of work progress regularly. Must inform stakeholders of work progress regularly. The project manager must also be able to learn to assess, monitor, and mitigate against risks. Must be able to learn to assess, monitor, and mitigate against risks. The project manager also must be apt to manage change. Must also be determined and implement the needs of the clients. The project manager has no job if there's no client. So you must always be able to manage and be determined to manage and implement the needs of the client. It's very important for the project manager to be able to do that. Now, the project manager requires some level of skill to be able to help him undertake the tasks. One of the skills that the project manager requires is conflict management, people management, leadership and result-oriented, problem-solving, creative thinking, planning and organization, time management, contract management, and negotiation skills. The project manager is required to undertake or know those skills. The project management procedures. A case for project administration. The purpose of a project, that is when you are getting into the project administration, because I've discussed this before, you need to understand and define and write out the purpose of the project. 2, the different options to be considered to be able to achieve the project. You consider the different options. What are the options you have? Oh, you want to build a house. What options do you have to build a house? Should you use a contractor? Should you use a direct labor? Or do you want to handle it yourself? Whatever you want to do, that's when you take that decision. An evaluation of an alternative method. You look at what you want to do. You look at the alternative methods that can be used to achieve it. Is it going to be cheaper? Is it going to be better? Is it going to be faster? Does it have a lot of risks, or is less risky? You consider all that. The benefits of the project. You need to understand the benefits of the project. Also, possible disadvantage of the project, if any. Appraisal of the cost and investment. Appraisal of the cost and investment, and a summary of potential risks for the project. A summary for potential risks for the project. One of the things we need to also understand in project management is what we call the project triangle. If you look at the side here, you see the triangle. It has scope, it has time, it has cost and quality at the center. Now, it's very important to understand that this project triangle, once a contract is signed, the project triangle goes into what we call an equilateral triangle, which means that all sides are equal. If you tamper with any side of that triangle, it will affect the other side of the triangle. It's very important to understand this so that at the end of the day, you know exactly. Once the scope of a project is agreed, the timeline has been agreed, and the cost has been agreed, the quality also has been agreed. If the client comes to change the scope, it will affect time, it will affect cost. If the client comes, change the cost, it will affect time, it will affect scope. If they come and they change it, the time of delivering the project, it will affect scope, it will affect cost. Whichever part of it affects, it must also affect the quality. Used for this, the project triangle is used to analyze difficulties during project execution. It's also used to illustrate the project successes and used to analyze project goals. Used to illustrate the relationship between scope, time, cost, and quality, which we have discussed. Project barriers. Now, there are some things that you must not allow happen in projects. And these barriers are: 1, misunderstanding. No matter what happens, ensure that you try as much as possible to communicate and people understand you as a project manager. Once you do not communicate, it will affect the project deliverables. 2, poor management. Poor management. You must be on your A's game in terms of management to ensure that the project is managed properly and things go the way they should go. Poor communication. It should never happen. You must always communicate your project. You must always communicate on your project. Personality conflict. You ensure that you do not have that. Disagreement. You also try as much as possible to have disagreement in the project. There are barriers. These are things. Once there's disagreement, it affects the project. Once there's conflict on the site or in the project you are doing, wherever it's located, it will affect the project. Goals and objectives not clearly defined. Once the goals and objectives are not clearly defined, it becomes a problem for any project. Another problem is bad weather. Another problem is bad weather. Ensure the following do not occur in whatever project that you manage. 1, customers' expectation not being met. Customer expectation not being met. You must ensure that you always meet the customer's expectation, exceeding the project budget. Exceeding the project budget. You must try as much as possible not to exceed project budget. You must try to ensure that the project budget is as planned for. And that's normally, if you do not scope very well, you will have problem with budgeting. And once you have problem with budgeting, you know that you have cost overrun. Exceeding project timeline. You must try as much as possible to manage your project so you do not exceed project timeline. Using inconsistent procedure or process, inconsistent procedure and process that is not known as alien will put you in trouble. So do not use them. Use the processes and procedures that are known, that are best national standards. Significant amount of overrun over time. Try as much as possible to avoid overtime on your project because it will affect the health of the workers. Once workers do a lot of overtime, it affects the quality of delivery for the project. Also, waste of time and resources. You must ensure that does not happen in your project. Foreseen external and internal, unforeseen external and internal. As much as possible, you ensure that that doesn't happen by managing your projects properly. Now, projects. Define a project. Define phase and project. Formation of the project team. You must learn to be able to form the project team. Depending on the kind of project, you will know exactly the team to be able to put together the documents, customers' needs. You must write down the customer needs and also develop a project charter, which will consist of a Gantt chart, which is a program of work in terms of bill of quantity. You must also develop a process map. How do you ensure? How do you meet up with project deliverables? Define project objective. The first step is in undertaking the project is to define the goals and objectives of the project. The next thing you need to do is a step required to achieve the goals and objectives. The steps required to achieve the project goals and objectives. The project objective should describe, it must be smart, it must be concise and clear. Smart means that it must be specific, it must be managed by the project stakeholders. The objective must be accepted by the project stakeholders. They provide a defined description of definite description of the project. Must provide a definite description of the project. Consider the following when defining project objective. You look at the what and how. You look at the time frame that is required to carry out that project. You look at the expected outcome. You look at the criteria for achieving the expected outcome, and you look at ways of measuring the expected outcome. Ways of measuring the expected outcome. Define the project purpose. In this, you need to state the purpose of the project. Link the purpose of the project to the organization goals and objectives. Define the purpose. Defining the purpose helps in predicting problems. It also helps in proper planning and controlling of the project activities. It helps in predicting problems and helps in proper planning and controlling of the project activity. Perform programming. This involves managing various related projects. It also involves selecting projects and adjusting the speed at which they run. It also involves adjusting the project scope, maximizing the value of the entire project portfolio, also help to create outcomes while project deliverables, while project delivers the output. You define the outcome, you create the outcome while the project itself delivers its outcome. Sorry, its output. Now, this once you're looking at a program in a program normally has several projects attached to it. Once you are doing a building project, for example, you have the civil works, which consists of all the things you do with block or sand and mortar or whatever and cement. Then you have some other aspects like, okay, windows. The windows and the cement work are totally different. Production of the window is a project in itself. It has a start and finish. Building of block is a project in itself. It has a start and finish. So by the time you look at all these small projects within the project, it's called a program. So that's why we call it program of works. You manage all the whole different activities and tasks. Inside inside every project, there are tasks, what we call breakdown tasks of what will help to run the project. Develop project scope statements. Define the project objective and deliverables of the project. Is project developed by the project team? It contains the scope statement is developed by the project team. The scope statement contains the following: describes the scope, acceptance criteria, deliverables of the project, constraints and assumptions. There are always constraints in a project that will slow you down, that gives you like a boundary that you cannot go beyond. Now, is they give that you cannot tile and do the ceiling at the same time. Once you're at that point, then one has to give way for the other. It's a constraint. Before you can do the ceiling, you must tile. If you are saying, oh, I don't want to tile, I want to do my ceiling first, then that means you are not ready to tile correctly, because it is one of them that must happen, and that's what we call each of them. They have dependence in front or in the reverse. This involves determining a project, specific goals. What you do when you are determining a project, you determine specific goals that you want to achieve in the project. You also determine the tasks and deliverables for the project, the deadline and the cost, and the required resources. Clarify the project parameter and the limitations. You need to know exactly what the project parameters are. Oh, you are expected to tell the whole living spaces in a particular house. Then the project will say, do not accept the toilets. Toilets are not part of the scope. If you go and try the toilet because of your zealousness, you have just done what you call out of scope job. You will not be paid for it. You must learn to work within the limitations and the accepted parameters in the project. That is what forms the set project duration. Estimating the duration of each work activity, integrating all work activity into a project schedule. Duration is set based on available resources. The resources are required before you can actually the activity, the project duration. Now, you must also know that there's also a skill that you must learn, and it comes also by experience. Some persons have calculated these things. They know like a mason now can set like 100 block minimum a day. So if he does anything less, you are losing, especially when you must ensure that the mason itself achieves what it's supposed to achieve. And you need to know exactly what it is. If you have, let's say you have 500 square meters of block, you know a mason lays 500 square meters of block per day. You know that if you are doing that with one mason, you have to achieve that in 5 days time. It now doesn't make sense when you say you want to do it in one day. And if you are doing it in one, that means you have 5 masons. How will 5 masons work on a particular wall that is 500 square meters? So there are a lot of things that you need to look at and consider when you are looking at the project duration. The components to consider in certain duration. Time that sometimes you have time on what it needs, and so on and so forth. Even Boko Haram can also affect your work. Physical processes that must be done that require what the capacity can be done, what the human capacity. Work performed by non-human resources, that's machines or equipment, the type of resources required. It will help you to define what you need to define. Work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structure. The eligible sections. The composition of work activities into smaller components make complex projects more manageable. Also helps in the development of project schedules and budgets used to identify potential risks in a project. The work breakdown structure is where you write down the different aspects of work that needs to be done to be able to achieve your set goals and objectives in a project. The purpose of creating a work breakdown structure helps to assign roles and responsibilities. Also helps with accurate estimation of cost, time, and which shows the project milestone and control points. Also help with accurate organization of the project and helps with the proper explanation of the project scope to stakeholders. Because you understand the scope properly, you will be able to put down the work breakdown structure. The human resource planning. This involves the identification and documentation of the roles and responsibilities of every team member. Also, reporting relationships for a project. You also look at the staffing management plan. How do you manage the workers that are working with you? Sometimes you must know that at the particular point in the project, you may need to disengage the workers and tell them to go because there is a foul smell coming out of such things. You need to be able to understand how to manage the staff in a project. Because if you do not know how to manage the staff, you'll be conflict. There are sometimes that you need a particular number of work, so a particular number of staff to be able to achieve a particular number of work. If they are quarreling within themselves, they will not be able to achieve it. Define the process of acquiring resources. Also, the period each resources will be required and the requirement for training. Every project in itself, there are levels. There are the point at the beginning of a project where you are doing the bricklaying work and all that, you do not require a tiler. If you bring a tiler to site, the tiler will be doing nothing. You just be paying money. But it gets to a point where you don't even need much of the bricklayer. You don't even need more of the finishers. You need a painter. You don't need a painter when you are casting the floor slab. The painter will just be there doing what? He's going to paint the floor slab. No, So you don't need a painter. So you must be able to know serves as a guide in ensuring that the funds available sufficient to see whether the needed funds are available to support the project, enables comparison of the anticipated benefits against the anticipated cost, identifying if the project is viable. There are several costs that normally is considered in a project. You have the direct and indirect costs. Direct costs are the staff salaries, the cost of materials and equipment and transportation. Indirect costs are generally the overhead items and also administrative charges. Administrative charges. That's what is also required for costing in the project. Develop project management plan, a document that outlines the project execution, control, and monitoring. Defines the execution approach. Use to document all the assumptions made for the project planning and the facilitation of stakeholders communication. A project management plan should address the following problems. One, what is the problem addressed by the project? What is the problem addressed by the project? What is the project? What's it for? What problem will it be? What problem will it be solving? It's very important to know. What are the project deliverables? Who will be involved in the project? What are the project team responsibilities? What is the project team timeline? Also, what are the team members' responsibilities? We need to also know that. And that thing must be written down in the project plan. You also need to also know what is the project time frame, the beginning and the end. How long will it take to conclude the project? Leading the project delivery team, the project manager should learn how to manage without authority. This means that the project manager must be a friendly person. It's not good for you to always be forcing yourself or trying to enact yourself on the project team. If you do that, you discourage the project team, and at the end of the day, to affect the project deliverable. You must have an understanding of how to motivate these people, the team members. The project manager must be able to motivate his team members so that they're able to achieve success. The essential ingredients for a successful delivery of a project. Ensure the project team stays motivated. Very important to motivate the project to increase the knowledge of each team member by giving them training or taking them for training. Increase each team member's ability to make decisions. Train them so that they can make decisions. Also, trust amidst the project team members. Ensure that there's trust amongst the project team members so that they don't keep fighting themselves and thinking that there is distrust. It's very important. Trust is key to achieving success in any project. Risk management. Common risks in a project are unexpected reduction in budget, role and responsibility not clearly defined, stakeholders' input not obtained, slow customer feedback and review. input not obtained. When you say stakeholders input not obtained, is when you take decisions in the project and you do not involve the stakeholder. Once you review, once you have customers giving you feedback, you should act fast. Stakeholders making adjustment to project requirements without having the nod from the stakeholders. Poor communication is very bad. Once you have poor communication, there'll be a problem. Very optimistic cost and time estimation. When you know that the cost will not be able to carry out the project and the time itself will not be sufficient, you just tell a lie just to get the project. At the end of the day, by the time you start, you're not running into issues. It's not very good. It's not something that you should be doing as a project manager. The stakeholders needs not to be fully understood anyway. They just need to let you know the highlights. Stakeholders adding new equipment. By the time you are doing a project and everybody is come and they're adding things to it, you're adding things to the project. At the end of the day, you will just keep adding and you will never finish the project. Steps to managing project risks. Risks management should be part of the project plan. Early identification of risks is very important in the project. Risks should be communicated to all the parties involved. Be put precautionary measures in place against those risks. Consider and review, identify risks or threats and opportunities. Managing risks. One of the things you need to do, you need to assign risk owners. Assign risks to some persons to do. If it's rain that is a risk that you are looking at, you have to assign somebody to be a weatherman, to be monitoring the weather chart. So that you know, is it raining today? If it's going to rain heavily, the person will send a message. There's a possibility that there will be heavy rain today. Leave on time to avoid traffic and all that. Just things like that. Prioritize risks. Risks should be closely analyzed. Plan and implement response to risks. A risk register should always be kept so that you have a record of the risks that you need to do. Plan versus process monitoring. Involves monitoring and tracking of the progress of a project. That's project management. It helps in identifying the variety from the project baseline and helps in keeping the project within scope, budget, and time. Helps to identify when there is a significant deviation on the project. Also, we provide early indication of problems in the project activity coordination, cost overrun, and then resource conflicts. Steps to monitoring project plan versus progress. Create a project baseline, communicate the baseline to everybody. The project budget management. A project budget provides an understanding of how funds should be utilized and expended for the project. The work breakdown structure is the basics for project budget. If the work breakdown structure is wrong, the budget will be wrong, and then you will have cost overall. Plan and oversee. A project's budget can be properly maintained through continuous budget forecast, regular forecast of resource usage, proper scope management, keeping project team informed, keeping the project team informed at all times. Sign off by the client. The client sign off a work completion certificate. This is at the close of the project. After project outcome has been measured against the criteria of acceptance, the work completion certificate records information such as, now we're talking about project closing, such as any other comments about the project, success criteria of the project, the key metrics to track to be tracked, and high lesson learned from the project. Under closing, you also have the project commissioning and handover. This involves checking and inspecting and testing application and applicable to all. This is applicable to all phases of the project, depending on how you are running the project. The objectives of the project commission is to, one, ensure a safe and orderly handover of the project, guarantees the project's operability in terms of safety, performance, and reliability. Also under project closing, you have the project analysis. The process of determining the real situation of the project also helps to find out whether the project is operated properly or otherwise. After the completion of the project, confirm whether the project has become susceptible to achieving its objective, identify and resolve any issue that may arise during the project operations, evaluate project successes or failure, determine if the expected objectives were successfully achieved. The following are reviewed by the project analysis stage. One, achievement of the project objective, proper utilization of resources, saving of resources, the usefulness of the decisions that were taken during the time of the project, and the service delivery. Under project closing, one of the things you need to learn also how to do is to proper documentation, proper filing, index project file, establish a project file structure at the project startup. This type of filing system depends on the project size. A simple single file may be used for small projects. A file numbering system may be used for a large project. It is advisable that files are kept both manually and electronically. The following should be kept for the project: contract file, correspondence file, administrative file, technical file, quality management file, construction support file. And then at the close of the project, you must ensure that you do what we call, you have a document lessons learned register. Document all the lessons learned during the project. The lessons learned are experiences gained from executing the project. The lessons learned should identify and document. The lesson learned should be identified and documented at the close of the project. At the close of the project. At this time, we'll go on a short break because after this, we'll go into facility project management. So we'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll go into facility project management, and then I'll take your questions. I'll just take a 5 minutes break. This is 6:05. We'll come back by 6:10. I hope that's okay by everybody. I hope that's okay by everybody. Going on break for the next 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, that's fine, sir.
Okay, sir.
We do barrage of projects under your facility. You may just be, oh, a door is broken. You need to replace it. That's a project. and AC is bad, you need to replace it. That's a project. Sometimes you may even have where they say, oh, you want to renovate this facility, and then you'll be the one to manage that whole process. So projects will always occur. Sometimes they want to do expansion. They want to do something new. You are going to be involved in this project. So these are small pockets of projects, maybe not very large, building a skyscraper of 21 story, but you have this project that you run from day to day, week to week, month in, month out in the different facilities. This may range from the commissioning of new buildings, renovation, relocation of staffs, like we have talked about, to new locations, implementation of new work method, introducing environmental and sustainable programs. To be successful, the FM team needs to apply a structured approach to achieving a structural approach appropriate to the scale of the task that is required to be done. So you require the skill. There is need for proper project management process for you as a person manager, so you understand exactly what you are doing. That will equip the team with the basic tools to control and deliver the project in line with the expectation or the agreed goals and objectives. Who is a facility project manager? The efficient management of an organization's infrastructure, space, and assets can enhance its operational efficiency. The facility project manager is responsible for the development, design, planning, scheduling, and management of the facilities infrastructures project. Like I said, all the project that is within facility will be managed, will be developed, will be planned, will be scheduled by the facility manager. The facility project manager oversees the following stuffs in their facility. One, construction and renovation of buildings within their facility, manage relationship with contractors, control space allocation, maintain facility project budget. Every facility must have a facility project budget. Without the budget, you cannot do anything as a facility manager. When it comes to keeping facility operations running smoothly, project management expertise is key. The project manager's skill are as follows. We have talked about this if I just go right. The project manager must be a good conflict manager, must be a good people manager, must have leadership and must be result oriented, must be able to solve problems, and he has the ability to do creative thinking, must be able to plan and organize, must be a good time manager, must be also good contract manager, and also have good negotiating skills. The facility project manager's responsibility involves the following: establishing of scope and budget estimates for the project that you need to do within your facility. Must also be able to develop the project schedule that shows the work on how it's to be done. Because most facilities are being occupied, the facility manager is skilled in such a manner that he will be able to know exactly what kind of job can be done at day and what can be done at night. If it is a residential facility you are managing, you will know that the best time to do the work is during the day when people would have gone to their offices. At night, they will come to rest. If you do a lot of work at night, you will be making so much noise and the residents will be uncomfortable, and of course, they'll give you so much headache. But if you are working in an office environment, it means that you must be able to do some work, a lot of work at night, because people close for work and go. So you can do it at night. So those are the kind of dynamics that you need to understand as a facility project manager. You must be able to understand your facility very well and be able to schedule the project in itself and know exactly how to run the project. Must also be able to coordinate the works, monitoring costs, and review construction work. You must be able to coordinate all the people that are doing the work, review the cost at which they are doing it, monitor the cost, and also review the work that they do from time to time. You must be able to keep the building committee in their facility informed of the progress of work that is being done. Must be able to hire professional movers for occupancy. You need, when we talked about this last class, when we were talking about move management, that the facility manager should get professional movers. And also, we must also be able to provide overview presentation of the project and give a tour of the facility when the stakeholders come around. You must also assist with warranty and post-occupancy construction issues and oversee many details of renovations and alteration jobs as it will be required. Customer survey in facility project management. The project closure feedback survey represents a safe vehicle for project stakeholders to provide thoughtful input. The project closure feedback provides the ability to capture the project closure metrics. Now, in facility project management, you do short projects, and sometimes by the time the project finishes, you may need to do a survey for your stakeholders, those that did the project, and even the users of the project, to find out how safe it is, how the project has been done. Was it done well? Was it not done well? So you can be able to evaluate your vendors and know the ones to use or the ones to delete from your facility. This survey content must involve the project closure feedback survey must be focused in gathering information from stakeholders in two areas. One, does the product delivered meet the stakeholders' requirements or the expectations? That's one of the focus of the feedback form. Did the process associated with the completion of the project meet the stakeholders' expectation? Not just the product, the process of doing it. Did it meet? When you are doing the renovation work in the residential place, did you mess up the whole place? Did you workers came, they were defecating outside, throwing all the nonsense they were eating outside on the floor, no clean, no proper housekeeping? Those are processes that need to be taken care of. So you need to also critique it to see exactly how it's been done. The vendor that you organize, do they come with very lousy workers that disturb everybody, talk anyhow, or smoke or drink on site? Those kind of things you may need to have that documented in the feedback form. Topics covered within the survey. Business results. Has the project enabled the anticipated business results to benefit? Those are questions you may ask. Expectation and requirements. Were the expectations and the requirement of the project product well defined and understood by the project team? Were the requirements effectively implemented? Were the requirements met? Those are just giving you sample questions. Communication. Was communication about the project effective and timely? Were the appropriate communication vehicles utilized? Did the communication include the appropriate content? The project execution. How effective was the process and the tool to complete the project work? Were the appropriate plans and in place to properly guide the project team throughout the project life cycle? Overall rating of the success of the project, both what was delivered and how it was delivered. Then you leave blank comments, you leave blank spaces for stakeholders to provide their feedback about what they think about what probably would have happened within the project process. Survey distribution. These are still just part of the feedback that you get. The feedback should be solicited from the key project stakeholders, the people that participated in completing the project deliverable, the people that participated in oversight of the project, the steering committee, the project sponsors, and also the people that provided input from the business area that impacted the project. Key end users or subject matter experts that were part of the project? Also, why should you measure the customer satisfaction to realize how well you are doing to meet up with the customer expectation? Also, to identify your loyal customers and to find ways to retain them. Also, to reward your workers that internal organization that contributed highly to the success of the project, to track process and strategies that help you satisfy the customer and fine-tune them, as it were, to also understand the gaps between the manager's perspective of the quality given and the customer's perspective of the quality received. Ways to measure customer satisfaction. One, the customer satisfaction survey form to be given, the customer complaint tracking through help desk. Sometimes you set up help desk, and then tracking repeat purchase through CRM, and then social media engagement and tracking, then online statements and tracking. The customer survey in facility management, okay, the stakeholders feedback, best practice, the best practice for stakeholders feedback. Solicit and communicate feedback in a timely manner. You must ensure that when the feedback comes, you must, if you require to respond, you must do that in a timely manner. Keep the survey simple, target the right people, does not need to be conducted just at the end of the project. You are connected any period within the project. Do something with the information that you have captured through the project. You need to do something with the information you have captured through the project so that you can use that to solve future project issues or project problems that may arise. Oh, that's the last slide. Thank you very much for your time. So I'll take our questions now, and we'll be able to trash either the questions I'll raise here or from the one from the last class for those that are just coming. Thank you very much. Okay, Emmanuel, I can see your hand. Let's take your question.
Good evening, Mr. Hosi. Thank you very much for the lecture.
Good evening, sir.
On this topic now, I have some small questions.
Please
and
go
one
ahead.
of them is, as a facility manager, you have to be knowledgeable when it comes to projects.
Yes,
I want to know, when you have to construct a building, for instance, let's say a bungalow,
yes.
a 5-bedroom bungalow, how many days should we set for that as part of the time to do this? And then number two, in making a building, how many, for instance, you want to lay 100 blocks of 100 blocks in the building, how many bags of cement should go for this? Those are the few things I think I really need to know.
Okay, this question you're asking, these are questions you're supposed to pay for.
I'm supposed to do what, sir?
You're supposed to pay for those questions because one, the last one that you just asked is supposed to, you're supposed to have a quantity surveyor to give you that information of how many blocks or how many bags of cement you require to lay 100 blocks. Anyway, they will give you that information.
In fact, sorry,
yes,
I'm supposed to know the type of piping you are supposed to use for your plumbing.
Yes.
Maybe it depends if you are doing a drain now.
See,
is it a 4-inch pipe? So
let me answer you straight up. The way you manage as a facility manager is that one, you are supposed to, I don't know if you have been told in this class or rather in this training that you have started, or if you have not been told, then you will still be told. Let me also just mention it. The facility manager is known as the jack of all trades, master of all. As a facility manager, you are supposed to know everything as regards the project or the facility you are managing. It's very important to listen to what I'm saying. And how do you know everything? You means that you must have the right consultants around or the right vendors always at your fingertips. You do not have to be a builder or an engineer to be a facility manager. You may even have studied history. And what you just require is this training that you are giving to you, and then the right people at your fingertips. you must be able to call them. The quantity surveyors will give you all these answers you're asking for straight up. And then you know exactly what you also need a mechanical person for the plumbing issue that you're asking questions for. The plumbing man, the mechanical engineer will give you the answers to the plumbing issues and recommend the best pipes that you need to use for a particular particular building. It's very important for you to know these things and manage with the people. And by the time you get in contact with this with the professionals, they will now help you. That's why you have to always have like a note to take notes of what you are supposed to know and do at every point in time. So for these days, for plumbing pipes, for me, what I normally will recommend is that you use either the PPR pipes or the multi-layer pipes for supply pipes. Then you can use your UPVC for your soil pipes, which is your drain pipes. The drain pipes hardly have leakages. The drain pipes hardly have leakages. The soil pipe hardly have leakages. The ones that really have leakages is the supply pipes, either the hot water or cold water pipe. That's what normally will have a lot of leakages. Then for the number of blocks that you're asking for, number of bags of cement, averagely you should be able to lay 100 blocks with about between an average of 1.5 to 2 bags of cement, depending on the mix that you use for that mortar, as it were, and also depending on the kind of block that you are laying. So I hope I've answered your question, Emmanuel.
Yes, you have answered my question. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, any other question? Please, let's take our questions, though. More questions, please. More questions, more questions. Do you have questions that we need to trash out?
Yes, sorry to ask another question. If there's
Yes,
nobody,
please.
In the last class, it wasn't very distant. So you mentioned about a space in last class, and I wanted to ask, how many people or how many square meters should someone occupy in the spacing that you explained in the last class? I want to know.
Okay. Averagely, for a standard open office space, an individual is supposed to occupy 3 square meters.
3 square. Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Yes, and number 2, sorry, sir. What's the difference concerning the last class? Because I couldn't finish the class. The difference between a breakout and a canteen.
Okay, a breakout area is just a furnished area with soft seating. Soft seating means you don't have swivel chairs there. You may just have club chairs, just sofas there, or boxes where you can just go and sit. It's just a soft area away from your office space where you have your table and your chair. You can also use that breakout space. You can take your laptop there and work. You can also use that space as a meeting area. You can meet with people there. And if it's not a meeting room, it's just a set out area. And you can also have your coffee, biscuits there. It's not where you eat your food. You can have snacks there. I don't know if you understand, but a canteen is where you go and eat proper food. The canteen is normally secluded out of the office space. The breakout area is also part of the office space for those that have it.
Because in companies like Nigerian breweries now,
yeah,
their canteen is a place where people can sit down conveniently, meet with friends, relate with their colleagues and other things. So that's why I'm asking the question.
Yes, you can do that in canteen, but the canteen is not in Nigerian breweries canteen also is not the appropriate place to do that, because you have the for Nigerian brewery their canteen is very big, so you can easily do that because you have they just serve you. You can just like you are going to somewhere like KYC now. Some people use that for meetings. Go to they all buy snack and they just meet with people there and eat over and discuss and have a snack and have informal meetings there. That can happen, but that's not the proper place. The proper place to create a breakout area, which is just very close to your work area. You just stand up. It's just when you're tired of sitting down, touching your back, you just stand up, walk, go there, do your work, and then come back.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, let's take another question. Okay, I can see Afiz, your hand. Let's take your question, Afiz.
Sir, I'm having some kind of conflict in knowledge here. And this is what I mean, sir. I previously have a knowledge of project management, theoretical knowledge of project management. Now, this is where my conflict is. In the process of your lecture, sir, I could see that we're mentioning a lot of project management terms. You mentioned areas of project management, which are the risk, the scope, the human resources, the stakeholders management, and all those things, which are the knowledge areas of project management. I also saw that you mentioned something I can call the elements, which is initiating and
the planning, monitoring, and then executing and closure. Afiz, are you there? I can't hear you anymore. Hello, Afiz.
Initiating plans management. That is where my conflict is.
I didn't get that. Sorry, I think you went totally blank. Take your question again.
Okay, I'm saying that it's really not a question, but it's a conflict that is going on in my mind, in my thinking.
Yes, tell me.
I said I have. Okay, this is the question. I have from my past knowledge in project management.
Yes.
I'm having difficulty in marrying the functions of project manager with that of a facility manager. That's where the conflict is. Because
okay, I get it.
You have mentioned so many things about project. Now to marry it with facility management is where my conflict, the conflict of knowledge is coming.
Okay, you are not supposed to have a conflict. I get your question. You're not supposed to have a conflict. You see, what is supposed to be is that you facility manager, one of the skills you require to be able to be a successful facility manager is to be a good project manager. I don't know if you understand.
Yes.
So the goal of you being a facility manager is that you are having a dual skill. You are trained as a facility manager and also trained as a project manager. So at the end of the day, there's no conflict anywhere. You are just having an advantage of having to manage projects seamlessly with the skill that you have acquired from the project management training that you get. That's why a project management is an integral part of what a facility manager should be doing, because you manage pockets of projects every day. So you require the basic skill of what it needs, all the things that you see in a very large, big project those are the same elements you see in the small projects. But it's just that, okay, let me give an example. If somebody says, okay, can you make EBA for me? one plate of eba. That's not a problem. You can do 1 plate of eba without even thinking. Just boil water and give me gari and pour the gari inside the water, and the water is boiled. I just turn it. That's eba. Is that not so? Now, if I tell you to make eba for everybody in Lagos, how do you manage it?
That's where the skill of a project manager comes in.
You can now see we are doing the same thing, but in a larger scale.
In a larger scale. Okay.
But the same principle that you will need to do that small one is the same principle you will need to do the large one. The only thing that you now do in the large one is that you now bring out those principles, you now spread it out, you bring them out to get you. Normally, when you want to make eba, you go and look for water because you know you have tap water. You won't bother to your head because you just put 1 cup of water and probably boil it. But now, if you are doing for 1,000 persons, you are still looking for water. But how now you now have to look at the criteria of getting enough water to meet up with the number of people you are doing. And the process of producing that water is also a project. Do you understand?
Yes, I get it.
So that is what. So there's not supposed to be any conflict. You are just saying the small project you are handling as a facility manager. You are doing a small. Okay, they say paint 2 rooms here because we have a new tenant that is coming. That's a project. You didn't now say, oh, we need to paint this whole facility. We have not painted this facility for 10 years. You are still painting the place. Just like you painted 2 rooms. Now you are telling to come and paint 24 rooms and then paint the external. It's the same paint activity you are doing, but you should be able to develop the skill to know how to paint 2 rooms using the required resources and painting 24 rooms using the required resources also.
Okay.
I hope you are clear now.
Yes, it's clearer now, sir. It's clearer now, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. More questions, please. Okay, if I want to assume that we have all we understood the class, and like I said, and I always say, you can always write down your questions where you have them. You can the secretariat to send that to me, and I'll address it as it were, as it was has to do with the class that we've had. Please read your materials; it will help you. Don't just look at the class as just a routine thing. Try and ensure that you implement the things that we are teaching you here in your different facilities. It will help you as you go in the ladder of facility management. I hope that we have learned 1 or 2 things today again. And this is to say thank you very much for your time and the opportunity to be in this class. Do have a good evening and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. God bless you too, sir.
Thank you very much. We're grateful.
Thank you very much.